Amendment Act 2021 and the Public Health and Other Legislation Public Health Emergency Amendment Act 2020 for particular purposes. I tabled the bill, the explanatory notes and a statement of compatibility with human rights. I nominate the Health and Environment Committee to consider the bill. Acting Deputy Speaker, I present the bill that I have just outlined. I table the bill and I nominate the Health Committee as outlined. The bill extends essential measures supporting Queensland's response to the COVID-19 pandemic and makes important refinements to some of these measures. To support Queensland's continued functioning during the pandemic, the bill will extend the temporary legislative framework introduced in response to COVID-19. Most measures will be extended by 7 months to 30 April 2022. The bill will continue the amendments of the Public Health Act, giving emergency powers to the Chief Health Officer and emergency officers to make directions to limit and respond to the spread of COVID-19 in Queensland. These amendments allow for the public health directions that ensure overseas arrivals enter hotel quarantine, businesses collect contact tracing information, and that our vulnerable populations in hospitals, aged care and disability accommodation are best protected, among many other examples. These powers have been critical to the success of the Palaszczuk government's health response. The bill will also continue amendments to health and other portfolio legislation to support Queensland's broader COVID-19 response, including measures to allow flexibility for institutions to mitigate the adverse impacts of the pandemic on individuals, businesses and the economy. This includes measures to modify legislative requirements by regulation or other secondary instruments to reduce physical contact between persons, modify statutory timeframes where necessary, ensure the continuation of court and tribunal proceedings, and authorise bodies to take action or do things electronically or take certain actions related to leases and tenancies. It also includes temporary amendments made across the statute book to ensure institutions to continue to function and, where possible, minimise the disruption caused by the pandemic. The bill will extend most measures until 30 April 2022, with a small number to be extended for a further month or two to provide a transition period. Only measures that remain necessary to support Queensland's response to the COVID-19 emergency are being extended. Extending the remaining measures by 7 months to 30 April 2022 will ensure the government can manage international arrivals in hotel quarantine and respond to any localised outbreaks in Queensland while the vaccine rollout progresses. This will allow time for Queensland Health to assess the effectiveness of the vaccine rollout and what this may mean for the COVID-19 response. The bill amends some temporary COVID-19 measures to improve their operation and ensure the public health system can adapt to new risks and challenges as the pandemic and our response to it continue to evolve. The Public Health Act provides that an emergency officer may give a quarantine direction requiring a person to stay in a stated place for up to 14 days. To support rapid contact tracing and the efficient management of quarantine systems, the bill makes clear that quarantine directions may be given electronically with a person's consent. It also clarifies that electronic directions are deemed to have been received when sent to a person's nominated address, unless proven otherwise. To remove doubt, the bill will also validate quarantine directions that were issued electronically before the date the amendments commence. These amendments clarify the law and current practice and will provide greater certainty to individuals who are required to quarantine and to emergency officers who are responsible for administering Queensland's quarantine system. The bill also amends the Public Health Act to support Queensland's quarantine system. Our hotel quarantine system has been a key feature of Queensland's success in suppressing COVID-19 and has provided an effective setting to ensure people returning from overseas enter the Queensland community safely. Since 1 July 2020, a person who must quarantine in a hotel has been required to pay a fee to contribute to the costs of government accommodation. This has supported the sustainability of the hotel quarantine system. As the COVID-19 vaccine rollout progresses in Australia and overseas, additional demands will be placed on the quarantine system. We expect that in time, people from a broader range of cohorts will be permitted to enter Queensland following a period of mandatory quarantine. The Palaszczuk government has already resumed the return of seasonal workers to Queensland. Recognising these additional demands, the bill will improve the state's ability to recoup quarantine-related expenses and ensure that Queensland's quarantine system remains sustainable and responsive to changing public health and economic circumstances. It does this by amending the Public Health Act to insert a header power to allow regulation to prescribe cohorts of travellers who will be required to pay quarantine fees before arriving in Queensland. Acting Deputy Speaker, I want to close by once again acknowledging our Chief Health Officer, Dr Jeanette Young, for her leadership over the past 18 months. I want to acknowledge our frontline staff, our health workers, our paramedics, our police, our border workers, and all of those working in retail and other service delivery who have worked so hard to make Queensland's response to COVID-19 the success that it has been. I also want to thank all of the public servants who have been involved in our COVID-19 response. While they may not be traditionally frontline workers, they have been working extraordinarily long hours under great amounts of stress and pressure to ensure that Queensland is kept safe and our economy continues to function. The pandemic is not over yet. We must remain vigilant and respond quickly to risks as they emerge. We must have confidence that our community will remain safe and that there are sufficient resources and capacity to manage all arrangements that are in place. The extension of the current COVID-19 framework and improvements to our quarantine system will allow us to do that. The bill represents the Palaszczuk Government's continued commitment to supporting the health and safety and the economic future of all Queenslanders. I commend the bill to the House, and Acting Deputy Speaker, I move that the bill be now read a first time.
The question is that the bill be now read a first time. Those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Those against, no. I think the ayes have it. In accordance with Standing Order... I call the clerk.
Public Health and Other Legislation, Further Extension of Expiring Provisions Amendment Bill.
In accordance with Standing Order 131, the bill is now referred to the Health and Environment Committee.